Lewis, 0-0 at Clyde. What's your thoughts on that, first of all? Good result, bad result? What are your thoughts?
I'm probably more disappointed than anything that we've never got 3. We've probably not done enough to get 3, but the game was there to be won. Like, I didn't feel as if we're under it. They never really created anything. We were kind of comfortable at the back. So I felt as if we're fine. So we just lacked that wee bit of quality in the final third. So I think if we had that wee bit of quality in the final third, we could have got goals today. We could have been maybe 2-3 up. So I think we had one in the first half early on, and then we had another one with Lange just getting into the box. Just that wee final bit of quality that we're probably missing just now.
Bit of quality, bit of luck even. I mean, even in that first sort of 20 minutes, it was kind of all Stranraer.
Exactly.
First 20 minutes or so. There could have been 2 or 3 up. Fair play, the game swung after that. But if we'd scored with one of those, could have changed the whole game.
Exactly. So see, once you get 1, you never know, they might kind of go a wee bit and then you can go and get 2 and then you can go and get 3. But I think it's probably been a wee bit of the story of the season, just lacking that wee bit of quality. So it's kind of changed in the past few weeks, but I think at the end of the day, see, when you do get in positions, got to be goals, like, because it's good that we've come out with a clean sheet and 0-0, but another day our team could have went up there and scored a goal in the last kick of the ball and you're leaving here with nothing. But I think, see, when you're on top, you've got to go and capitalise on it and go and score goals.
Sure. I believe that was our first clean sheet in the league this season, so well done on that. The defence
Thank you.
hung in there, particularly at the end when Clyde seemed to get a free kick every 30 seconds in a dangerous position. So
I don't know what
he
the
did
referee
well
was
to
doing.
withstand that.
Like, I felt as if anything that we'd done where the free kick was going against us, I think the referee was kind of got a wee bit tired or whatever, but like it was... But even when they did put balls in the box, I never really felt as if they were getting headers on it. I think we were always there for the first contact, whereas in the first half I think they were getting more of the contact in the box. I think we changed that a wee bit in the second half and I felt as if we defended really well against the set pieces.
Final one in terms of the game itself, how did it feel to play in? Because from the side that looked like a right old ding-dong battle between 2 teams determined to get the better of each other.
Exactly, but I felt as if, see, the type of games, they're the games you should be coming out on top of. I think that kind of tells how far we've come in the past few weeks. Like, the change was disappointed that we've not won the game. But it was a battle, seeing these in League 2, I think you've got to win the battle first, you've got to work hard. And then in a size of pitch like this, you've got to keep the ball. And we've probably never really done that enough today. Which is, I think we're maybe playing long a wee bit too much. But with the pace of Ryan and Lange up front, I think it's not the worst idea, but I think we could have probably had a wee bit more quality on the ball today. And I think if we'd done that, we might have got a wee bit more joy.
2 games to come this week, St Mirren B midweek, East Kilbride at home on Saturday. We've got 1 defeat in 8 games now. Is it just a case of keeping going?
100%. Like, we want to go, kind of want to win every game, keep this run going. So I think the boys are playing with confidence just now, and Tuesday's another game that we can go and do that again. And then Saturday will be another hard game. They'll pass the ball about, but we'll pass the ball about as well, and we'll have a good go as well. So it'll be 2 good games. Hopefully keep the run going and climb that league as much as we can.
Lewis, well done today away and enjoy your Saturday.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to another bumper edition of Look Blues Talking. We look back at the weekend's draw with Clyde, Tuesday night's win over St Mirren B, and we look ahead to welcoming East Kilbride back to the EcoGen Stadium for the first time since that playoff final. We also hear from midweek goal scorer Darren Lang and Ronan Hughes, who started his first game since August against St Mirren B. We also might just have a little bit of extra content for everyone, so stick around for that. Joining me tonight are Brian Martin, Lawrence Nelson and George Frank. No time to waste, we'll get down to it. All 3 of you were at Hamilton to see Stranraer versus Clyde on Saturday. A goalless draw, but was it a bleak goalless draw, Brian?
No, I don't think so. The first half, I thought, created some good openings for both sides. Stranraer, first 20 minutes, Josh Lane was a virtual spectator. Then the next 20-25 minutes, Clyde probably were the better team in it. They had 2 or 3 chances. I wouldn't say gilt-edged chances, but they did have 2 or 3 chances. And the second half really wasn't great at all. You know, I mean, I can't remember a right good chance in the second half. But, you know, the 0-0 didn't really surprise me, Cammy, because going into it, both defences, they were first and second in the form league. You know, for I think we'd get 5 against us, and Clyde had 6, so they were both very good defences. So probably it wasn't the greatest surprise in the world. It was nothing each.
What about yourself, Lawrence? How did you enjoy our first goalless draw of the league season?
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to say, you were talking about, was it bleak? I thought it was a pretty enjoyable ding-dong battle. I think I was speaking to Lewis Reid at the end and I was asking him how it was to play in it because it was all action. As Brian said, first 15, 20, nobody could have complained had Stranraer been 2 or 3 goals to the good. Ekrapont had one on target, Ruff was on target, Lang was on target. Apologies if I'm missing anybody out. Brian said Clyde then had the better of things, the remainder of the first half. I guess it was no real surprise for the statisticians. You pointed out last week we hadn't won at Clyde since 1998. So a win for us would have been historic, to be honest. But equally, I think that after Saturday's draw, it took Clyde to 1 defeat in 12, and I think at that stage for us, 1 defeat in 9. So I guess a stalemate wasn't a great shock. And in terms of us, good performance, and we crept another place up the table, Cameron.
I have asked the sculptor just to put his tools down just for the moment in terms of making that Chris Aiken
Later
statue.
in the season.
Later in the season, he'll be back to it, don't worry. What about yourself, George? The consensus, both online and on here, seems to be that Stranraer started promisingly, Clyde kind of fought their way back into it, and then pretty much a stalemate in the second half.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I think for me, you have to kind of take the positives from it, especially given the results that we've been recording leading up to it. Getting a draw at the informed side in the league is nothing to be sniffed at, and I think we performed well enough for a difficult fixture, a difficult place to go, somewhere where we've struggled in recent years, and come away with an important point, and hopefully we can build on that in the kind of tough games to come.
Sticking with yourself, George, I think Clyde's first real chance, and probably the best chance of the game, was when Josh made the save from Sam Campbell's flick. I think it's a save that kind of gets better each time you watch it.
Yeah, and he had a couple of good saves, did Josh. Seemed like one of these kind of reflex stops that he's so capable of. We've seen quite a few of those over the last year and a bit. And yeah, I think that goes in, it changes the game, and they were on a bit of a, they had a bit of momentum at that point in the game. It could have been a different afternoon entirely, but Josh keeps it out and we hold firm. And obviously they had a few more chances, Leach and Sutherland both firing wide. Niang should probably score. So the fact that Josh has made that save and we've hung on, it might be important by the end of the season. It's a big point.
We spoke about this a little bit last week, Lawrence, but last few seasons, Stranraer versus Clyde, they've kind of been relegation 6-pointers, basically. Does it show how far both teams have come? I appreciate we're obviously only in November, who knows what will happen, but does it show how far both teams have come that we're looking up the table more now?
I think it does, Cameron. I was actually quite chuffed to come away from New Douglas Park 5 o'clock Saturday night with a point. I thought Clyde were really good opponents on Saturday. Not getting carried away, they're not unbeatable, but equally I saw one of their fans saying that they were disappointed to draw with a poor Stranraer side. That's not how I saw it. I actually saw that both teams had improved considerably on certainly certain spells last season. We've had our issues with Clyde over the last few seasons. I'm not going to diss them for this. I thought they were doughty opponents on Saturday, and I think both teams have made good progress.
It's a funny one, just to stick with yourself, Lawrence, for a moment, that I think almost inevitably when you go on to social media, when you go on to forums, the team, usually the away team, but it's always a poor insert club name. Very, very rarely do you get an opposition fan going, well, I'll tell you what, we were quite lucky today.
Yeah, it's pretty rare, and I think that's something we've come up against more often than not the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, because basically we have slumped and we've been gradually, by sometimes small increments, been trying to pull ourselves up that table. I don't want to get too carried away, but I think is that one defeat is it 10 now for the Mirren B game? And it only takes one defeat to change that stat completely. But no, so chuffed that it's whether it's 1 and 10, 2 and 11, 1 and 11. What an improvement. And I think I said to Brian and I said to George and I said to everybody that would listen to me within boring range at the end of the game on Saturday that that's a game that we wouldn't have got a point in probably only a couple of months ago.
Does there come a time, Brian, where there's a genuine belief where we go into games now that we could get a result rather than simply blue tinted specs or kind of blind optimism? Is there a genuine belief that we can pick up points wherever we are?
Yeah, absolutely, Cameron. I mean, I've banged on this defence all season, and the defence weren't to blame for our poor start to the season. It was, going forward at the front third. But I mean, when I go to games now and I know the defence we've got, I feel so confident because there's such a good back five, and I just touched on what Lauren said. That pie and bobble really does wind me up. I mean, the wife's got me
That's what
barred
it's
for it.
for.
Yeah, the wife's got me barred for it because she doesn't let me post on it because I would absolutely go wild with. I think I seen a Forfa fan writing saying, "Are we get beat 3-1 by a poor Stranraer side?" I mean, that was us probably 4 or 5 short. I don't know. I mean, they're always not looking at our recent form. They're just going by, I don't know what they're going by, but they're definitely looking at games because,
Brian, is this the fourth side that you said were ranked rotten?
yeah,
Just
maybe,
to drop you
maybe
in there.
heard, I maybe heard me right enough, but my dear, and it really riles me up by a bit. Back to your question, Cammy, I really do turn up confident now to games because I know that the defence, to me, they're the best. They're not at the moment. They're not, but to me, it's the best defence in League Two.
What about yourself, George? Would you go along with that in terms of, I know I'm totally guilty of it, that we could lose 4-5-0 at the weekend, and then kind of Sunday, I'm still annoyed by it. Monday, a little bit less annoyed. And then as the week marches on, come Friday, I'm like, yeah, I think we'll pick up 3 points this weekend. Is there a genuine belief now rather than just supporter stupidity, I guess?
I think there is, yeah. I think famous last words, but I think we seem to have turned a corner, and I think it was that win at Dumbarton, and then the win at Edinburgh City, beating Forfar, and each time we're kind of ticking off a team that we might have struggled with previously. The performances were there before we started getting results, and it's an easy thing to say, when you're struggling and people can kind of question it and say, well, you're still bottom of the table. But I think there was a lot to be optimistic about, even when the results weren't there. Now they are, and we're starting to do it at the right end of the right end of the pitch. But yeah, we can't get carried away at the same time. We're 1 defeat in 10, which is marvellous. And if we keep going like that, we'll be looking at the right end of the table. But we just need to keep on in the same vein and not not lose our momentum along the way.
Lawrence, obviously, Brian kind of touched on it there in terms of the defence, and obviously he's a big supporter of the defensive unit. Is a goalless draw at a team in third with now 2 defeats in 15, is that a sign that we're, at the very least, and I don't want this to be kind of downplayed, but at the very least, a team that's now hard to beat?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the difference. Brian loves the defence, and what I would say is that the defence, again, touching wood big time, the defence isn't leaking the sort of silly goals that we were. Let's be honest, under Jamie Hamill, under Aggie, he must have torn his hair out watching them some weeks. And even I think when Chris and I was going to say Chris and Tiff, when Chris and Ginge came in to begin with, right away they were seeing some of the goals we were losing. We're not doing that now. That's not to say it'll never happen, but by and large, we're not doing that now. And right away, I think that's what gives Brian the confidence. It doesn't matter how hard you're finding it to score goals. If you're not letting them in, you're in with a chance, and that's what Clyde came up against on Saturday.
That seems to have been kind of something that was quickly identified, Brian, both when the management team came in and in the summer, in terms of, I think I'm right in saying, the first 2 signings, Lewis Reid and Robbie Much, obviously goalkeeper and defender, and then pretty much the first signing during the close season, Scott Ruff as well, defender. It was clear that he had identified what a weakness was in our team.
Yeah, I agree with that because, when you listen to, old managers, really good, strong managers like Sam Allardyce or Davy Moyes, they always go back. You must get your defence right, or you're not going to go anywhere in football. And Tiff and Ginger, very experienced guys, and they knew they had to get a defence, which a lot better than what it was. And I mean, to me, they've improved the defence tenfold. And as Lawrence says, we used to lose really silly goals, but they've got that part of the team right, in my mind. And that's why, as I say, it gives me confidence. And I think it's by design, actually, that they've looked at that defensive right. We'll get the defence right first, and then let's move forward, and that's what they've done. And I mean, it looks as though midfield and the front two or three are now beginning to, to tie up. So, it's looking good.
We've obviously played everyone at least once now, Brian. Where did Clyde rank for you in terms of the opposition?
Yeah, they're okay. We've played them twice. We played them down at Stair Park, and we played them up there. They're okay. They're no better than us. I don't think. I mean, we look quite evenly matched. I thought we should have won the first game down at Stair Park. The second game, as I say, a draw was probably a fair result. So I mean, if they're going to be finishing third or fourth, you'd think Stranraer would have a chance of being near them because they're no better than us. And of course, a lot of teams like the same. There's a lot of teams. I think I've watched every team now, and I'm trying to think who was better than Stranraer. Probably East Kilbride were probably the better team, the best team we played. I would think. Spartans were okay, but they played against 10 men for an hour, so you couldn't really tell on that. But the rest of them, I mean, they're all much and muches, I think.
Well, what about yourself, George? Where would Clyde rank for you?
I think they were decent. Again, I think as Brian says, it's hard to kind of gauge where they're at, given the circumstances of the defeat at East Kilbride. I think we probably could have had a draw there. The Spartans game, like Brian says, we were down to 10 men. So it's hard to see where they stack up, let's put it that way. But I don't think there's much between any team from third all the way down to the bottom. And obviously Edinburgh City are hitting a sticky patch, but they've started the season well. So yeah, Clyde have recruited well, I would say, in summer. The likes of Jinky Hilton, they've got plenty going forward, but there's nothing that I can see between them and us.
And in terms of the two meetings, Lawrence, unbeaten against the team in third, can't be too displeased with that.
Unbeaten against the team in third and unbeaten against a team who we struggled against the last couple of seasons. Brian's Annus Horribilis, or whatever the Latin is for a horrible week. That game at Clyde where they went 1-0 up in the 94th minute, and effectively that made us the bottom team that season. Though it's a good result against Clyde. I think they have improved. And I guess we're going to find out whether we've turned that corner a wee bit the next couple of weeks. Don't want to jump ahead too much, but we've East Kilbride and Spartans coming up. So we've played Clyde, who are third. We've now got EK, who are second, then Spartans, who are at the moment first. So we're about to find out, to be honest. And, if we don't take maximum points from those next two games, at least then technically we've got an easier run of fixtures coming up.
We've mentioned the strength of the squad before, and obviously we'll get on to more of that in terms of Tuesday night. But it'd obviously been a settled starting 11 before the game at the weekend. Brian, James Dolan and Danny McManus missed out. Darren Lang and Mark Russell came in. How do you think they performed?
Yeah, I mean, they performed fine. I think we did miss Dolan especially. Dolan gives you a bit of something else in the middle of the park. A bit of a wide player. I think we did miss him, but the boys who come in done absolutely fine. I mean, I've no qualms about any of them. McManus, we don't know what happened to him. I think it was a knock in training, seemingly. So Tiff didn't mention him in his post match last night. So I don't know when he's back. But I mean, as you say, Cam, it's been a settled side. And we lost them too. So it takes a wee bit of shine off. The team selection, but no, I thought the boys that come in done fine.
So St Mirren on Tuesday night, and thanks to David Kelly and Ewan Home for stepping in on commentary duty. Sorry, I'll come to you, George, because you were the one that was there. 2-0 win, striker scoring, clean sheet. Good night at the office.
Yeah, I think so. Given the sheer number of changes, the weather conditions, the nature of the fixture, obviously we're already through. There was a seeded place to play for, but maybe not a lot else. A place in the team, hopefully for the weekend at stake for some of these guys. So I think with all that said, a 2-0 win, we probably would have taken that before the game kicked off. I think in the circumstances, you could say that we've raced into a 2-goal lead. We looked like scoring more from there on in. You could maybe be disappointed that we've not added to that. And yeah, the sheer number of chances, particularly in the first half, we should have had, as Tiff said in his post-match, maybe 5 or 6, which would have been lovely. But second half, we just sat off and we didn't really cause them enough problems for me. So yeah, I mean, it's a home win and we move on.
I'm hoping you'll back me up here, Lawrence. But obviously, when you're not at the game, and whether it's updates through Twitter, whether it's through the BBC or anything else, you don't get the real feel of the game that you would have when you were there. But certainly, 2 goals in the opening kind of 12, 15 minutes or so. I don't know about you, but I automatically get greedy in that situation and start thinking, here we go. Could be 5, 6, 7. Let's go. What about yourself? How do you? I don't know if enjoy is the right word. How do you take in the game when you're not there?
Conflicting emotions, as you say. Two goals in the opening 12 minutes, bang, 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 and you're thinking, great, we're on easy street here. But actually, I think you and Holmes summed it up at the end of the highlights with just saying, job done. The job last night was to get 3 points, get into the top 6. We did it, and yeah, you can argue that if I'd been there, I'd been like biting the fingernails. Come on, we need more goals. We need a third to kill the game off. But actually, you could turn around and say it sounds as if we did pretty good game management. 2-0 up, and from the highlights, yeah, I think BJ cleared one off the line, and Lewis Reid, when he came on as a late sub, looked to clear one off the line. But I think it was job done early on. In terms of how I manage it, I was walking around Sainsbury's looking at my phone every 20 seconds, like, come on, where's the third goal? What's going on here? But at the same time, managing it a wee chuckle at the league teams that were struggling. It took Queens all night to finally get the better of a B team, and Kelty Hearts lost to Hearts. I think Dom Plank got on in that one. So it's basically it's a pain in the bum when you're not there, having to try and catch up from social media. And no matter how stalwart whoever's doing the Twitter feed is, you don't really get the feel for how it's going.
I think that's us completed the supermarket bingo, by the way. We've really
Iceland,
Iceland, Morrison's,
Sainsbury's,
Sainsbury's,
yeah,
Tesco, just Asda to go.
We're not upmarket enough for Waitrose, obviously.
What about yourself, Brian? When the goals were coming through, were you giving it Aldi?
I must admit, I was willing daring to get a hat trick. I'd love to. I think you said, Tommy, first one since 2017. So I think it was. So I mean, I'd love to get a hat trick. And looking at the highlights, he maybe should have had a hat trick. I'm quite sure he'd be disappointed with the header, which nearly got made when just past the post. But a little bit greedy. But I think Tiff probably got it right in his post match. I think we took the foot off the gas. And as he says, these young kids just like to pass it about, and we allowed them. We weren't getting stuck into them, as I would say. And but it was job done, and I'm quite sure, Tiff underneath would be absolutely fine with it. But maybe on the surface, he's no so happy with some of the things that went on, and especially in the second half. But I don't know. As you say, we can only watch 10, 12 minutes on the highlights, so it's quite hard to gauge what happened. But job done, as Ewan said.
Brian, can I just chip in that it's nice to see you and I were having a night off, and it was nice to see David Kelly going straight into the commentator's curse. I want another goal. and then within about a minute, Lewis Reid clears off the line at the long end. That's exactly the kind of thing we've done for the last 4 or 5 years.
I want another goal, Ewan. Oh, no light,
I don't know who
Lewis.
from, not. Is it one like the...
I'm not wanting to go that way. Oh, brilliant.
But no, still enjoyed the highlights.
Mentioned in terms of the squad depth, I think I'm right in saying 6 changes, Lawrence. It's a good position to be in for the manager that he can rotate the squad like that.
It's a fantastic position to be in. I was thinking about that 2 or 3 minutes ago when you were asking Brian about the changes at Clyde on Saturday, that we've now seemed to have got ourselves into a position where, I think Tiff has identified his kind of favourite starting 11 up to a point, but now we're in a position where people coming on actually are influencing the game. I'm going to be sounding like a stuck record again here and just say one thing I've not said about Saturday is, again, a really, really strong last 10 minutes at Clyde after Dom Plank came on. That boy's got something, runs at defences, creates a bit of excitement for us, creates a bit of consternation for the opposing defence. But just to pick out Dom, but to go back to your point, we've got players on the bench now, and we saw that last night, Tuesday night, St Mirren B, changes were made. It's a B side, but actually there's a bit of a squad. Can't you say a team ethics? It's not just 11 players, as Tiff completely regularly points out. There's a bit of a squad ethic there, and it's great to see.
Obviously, as I mentioned, you were the one that was in attendance, George. Did any of those who were coming in, did they impress sufficiently to start this weekend?
It's a tricky one. I think obviously with Evan Dunn, Ronan Hughes, they're coming back from injury and they've been out a little while, so probably not done enough to earn a starting place. BJ Cole, again, I probably wouldn't take out either of the centre halves, and Finn Eckrepont's playing really well, so that's kind of both of his positions. Lewis Hunter, you can maybe argue for a starting place. I think he's done quite well when he's come in, and Henderson, it's difficult to get ahead of Josh Lane. Same goes for Tommy Sharp. I think his minutes have probably been limited. So I think they all did well when called upon. And as Ewan Holmes said on commentary, I don't think we had any failures amongst the lineup. But obviously, it's difficult when you're playing against that kind of opposition, maybe to stand out enough to earn a starting spot.
Whether they've done enough to get into the starting lineup, Brian, at least they'll have kind of kept themselves in the manager's mind in that sense that if we do need to change for whatever reason come Saturday, we've got good options on the bench.
Yeah, we keep on saying it, Cameron. The squad depth is the best I can remember for years and years. And we feel confident if we bring any of these boys on for the bench, they're going to do a job. Gillis wasn't there last night. But Plank is back on Saturday, so I mean he's got loads of options, and they're good options, and I wouldn't like to pick his team on Saturday. I'm quite sure he knows, maybe 10 of them, but he's got fantastic options, and as he was saying last night, you get Doherty getting fit, Sal getting fit, O'Donnell getting fit, don't know when McManus is back, but the options he's coming is fantastic. As long as they keep fit and healthy, it's a great position to be in.
From a striker's point of view, Lawrence, Darren's goals, probably about a total of 8 yards for the two of them, the first being from about 8 yards, and the second pretty much from being on the line. It's maybe something we've been lacking in recent years, that sort of striker to score, all goals count the same, but to score the kind of ugly goals, I guess.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, we've moaned for a couple of years anyway about the lack of shots. There was a spell a season or two ago when we seemed to continually play the ball across the 18-yard line and nobody's wanting a shot. It was almost like this fear, lack of confidence. I think the confidence is coming back now, and what you've got is the likes of Darren, Ryan, other players just being in the right position, and it's starting to come that it's more often at the right time. So I think that is it's brilliant to see. Ryan's the same. We just need one or two other players. Did say that Finn had a shot on target on Saturday. Scott Ruff had a shot on target. Plank wasn't far away. So there are more chances being tried at least.
I think as well, Brian, we're starting to see more and more in terms of partnerships across the park, but in particular, obviously, Darren and Ryan up front.
Yeah, I mean, the more they play together, the better they'll get, obviously, and that they're definitely, and they're beginning to hold the ball up for players to come forward. I mean, it's it used to be they used to move a bit rushed a wee bit, but now they're beginning to use the headers, I would say, and just wait for the cavalry to appear and then play the. I think Ryan's done it 2 or 3 times recently, and Darren has done fine as well, kind of holding the ball up. And I think that's it's been they're being trained to do that now. I mean, maybe a couple of seasons ago they wouldn't have the same savvy, but now with Ginge and Tiff, that they're getting told, just hold the ball up and wait to get your teammates arrive, because the way we play sometimes, we're pretty defensive and then we break, and so all the defenders or the midfielders aren't they going to be right there right away. So just try and hold the ball up.
2 assists for Mark Russell last night. George, obviously somebody that was probably one of the players of the season for us last season. How do you reckon he's performed in the last couple of games?
It's certainly good to to see him back on the pitch, and I think that's really what he needs. He needs to be back playing, getting back to the player that we know he can be and that we've seen last season. Looking at his stats for last season, top scorer, and scoring the kind of goals that I think we might, we might be missing, those kind of shots from distance, a little bit of quality. What I would say is against Clyde and against St Mirren, there were mistakes that led to key chances for the opposition. So there's probably still a bit of rust to work out, and hopefully when he comes up to full fitness, we'll see the best of him.
We've said before, George, as well about a particular style, I guess, when it comes to the B teams and how they've played when they've come to Stair Park. Was that evident with St Mirren last night as well?
A little bit, yeah. And I don't think they were able to really impose their game plan on us. We were right on top of them, so there wasn't as much of the kind of what we saw from Motherwell of passing it around at the back endlessly. I think they had to depart from it at some point, and they never really got going. Like you say, it seems to be just symptomatic of the B teams, and it's obviously not been tremendously successful for them in the competition, but I'm sure it'll persist next season as well.
Looking at the highlights, Brian, it looks, without necessarily suggesting that every chance should equal a goal, but it looks like we could have been more comfortable come half time.
Yeah, looking at, especially in the first half, Carmi with 2 or 3 great chances. I mentioned Darren's header, and I think Russell had a chance, and Ryan had a chance. Yeah, it should have been more comfortable than what it was, but if you're creating chances, no matter who it's against, it's a good thing, and as I say, the second half, I think, was a bit of a non-event for Stranraer anyway. I think they came into the game a wee bit more, but I think it was still quite comfortable in the end, wasn't it?
Different opposition, different competitions as well, Lawrence. But do you think that Tiff was happier with the draw against Clyde than he was with the win against St Mirren?
I suspect he was. I suspect there's a bit of the club want us to progress in the Challenge Cup. There's money to be made. The fans want us to progress in the Challenge Cup. Hopefully going a little bit of a run in it. But I think in terms of, we come back to what we always say, the bread and butter. A point in the league. It was like earlier in the season when frustratingly we were winning in midweek in the Challenge Cup, then losing in the league. I think the league is always the big thing. So unless you were 12 points clear at the top, the cup's just always that wee bit of a luxury. One observation looking at the highlights last night, can I just say how ambitious it was for Stranraer Football Club to open the pie shop at the away end on Tuesday night? I'd be really interested to see how many customers they had at that. And that is not a criticism. I just thought it was quite amusing seeing this lonely little pie hut with the away terrace and completely empty. And while I've got the camera on me, can I just say that I'm vowing to have a resolution. It's not the new year yet, but kudos to George Frank for Saturday's highlights of the goalless draw at Clyde, because he managed to eradicate all of my moans and Brian Martin's moans about the appalling refereeing on Saturday. And it made me appreciate probably how much more difficult we made George's job in editing the game. So I'm going to try and hold my tongue in the future. But also, it's just a way of getting on record how I thought about the refereeing Saturday.
If it's any consolation, I didn't think he was much good either.
Exactly.
Just on that, we'll go into that just for a second then. What do you think, George, makes a good referee? And I'll ask that to Lawrence and Brian, so I'm not picking on you. What do you think makes a good referee?
I think first and foremost, it's the important calls, getting them right. Beyond that, I think there's not enough thought given to supporter experience within the ground. And what we see a lot of, and what frustrates supporters, I think, is referees who, make it all about them, and they're the centre of attention. They take forever explaining things, and they're inconsistent. I think what we saw on Saturday, just soft fouls all over the place, I thought, on Saturday. We don't see the best of the referees, I don't think, in League Two, understandably, but and I try not to be too critical, but it can be frustrating watch.
I'll admit I'm not a fan that looks at who the next referee is, and then I think week in, week out, you get somebody who goes, "Oh God, it's such and such." I've never heard of a fan go, "Oh, good, it's Bob Smith taking this weekend's game. That's good, lovely." For me, I think it's only fair if I answer as well. I think kind of touching on what you said there, George, I almost want the referee to be invisible. I don't want to be coming away speaking about the referee. I appreciate that referee to referee, the interpretations of the laws of the game are going to be different. Don't have any issue with that. Some referees might think that's backing in. Some might think that's the defender claiming over. No issue with that. As you say, it's the inconsistency within a game. And again, I understand that if somebody steals 10 yards for a throw-in, the referee maybe can't pull up every time somebody tries to steal yards from a throw-in, because we'd probably still be there at about 5:30 with the stoppage time being added on. But it does feel at times that randomly a player will get kind of called across and no, it's to be taken from there, and then the next time nothing happens, etc. Maybe the referee says to the player during the game, I don't know. What about yourself, Lawrence? What makes a good referee?
Consistency, and I think you've nailed it, Cameron. I don't expect Jimmy Smith this week to be the same as Joel Kennedy last week, but I do expect consistency within the game. Mr. Kennedy on Saturday, I think he nailed 3 Stranraer players with yellow cards in the first hour, and I don't think we were any dirtier than Clyde. He then went on a crusade against Clyde and booked 3 of them in the next half hour before he turned his attention to Evan Dunn within seconds of him arriving. The throw-in thing, it's stupid things that annoy fans. The throw-in thing annoys me because, to me, if a referee says in the first 5 minutes, get back 20 yards, he's kind of left him so that he then should do it every time. And I don't know what he does about that, whether he actually says, if you don't play ball with me, I'm going to yellow card you eventually. And I know most fans would probably think, oh, shut up, you're going over the top with that. But it's consistency. And I think you've got it. It's consistency within a game. I would also like, having reported on games for years, when a referee is shown a card, he makes it absolutely clear who he's shown the card to. And that'll then lead to a bit less of fans thinking, what was that about? It will also be pretty clear then, because there must be a number of cards we don't know what they're for because the player has actually said something derogatory to the referee. But if he actually pointed at the player, went right up to him, gave him the card, you'd think something's happened there. At least then you're left in no doubt that it's between the referee and that player. I'm not saying if they did all that, I wouldn't find something else to moan about though.
What about yourself, Brian? What makes a good referee for League Two, other than I'm being totally in favour of Stranraer, obviously?
Well, I was going to say that as long as we win. But no, I mean, on Saturday, you've heard it for the whole 3 of us, or the 4 of us, consistency, and one thing on Saturday, Cammy, you weren't there, Andy Murdoch in the first half held one of our players back.
Yeah.
And it
was
attacking move, the referee spoke to him. Matty Gillis done the same thing about 5 minutes later and get booked. You know, where is that? You know, I mean, why should that happen? I mean, is it because it happens quite early in the game, but that shouldn't make any difference.
No.
You know, and I mean, on Saturday, both benches looked at each other at some of the decisions.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just shaking their head. I think there was a foul. I think it was Scott Ruff was involved. You know, and we've said,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a foul at Stranraer." Scott Ruff couldn't believe it. They gave a foul to Clyde, and everybody was looking. What you know? I think even the Clyde fans what was that for? You know, it's just wee things. But I think the best referee. I mean, I think you can spot a good referee. I said 2 or 3 seasons ago, even though he sent Craig Ross off in his very first game, I said Ryan Lee was probably the best referee I've seen for a while. He's now in the Premiership after about 2 or 3 seasons. I still think he's the best. And the best referee I think we've had this season is Abby Henry, the lady referee who was at Edinburgh City. I thought she was really good. You know, and she wasn't fussy. You know, and it's just consistency is the thing fans want to see. You know, and it's few and far between with a lot of referees.
I would say to the Scottish FA, if they're looking for a new invigilator, Brian Martin is available.
If I knew what that word meant, George, I would agree with you.
Purer, Supremo. I don't know what.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Loads of words you could use. He'd honcho.
Without wanting to turn it into a kind of cultural debate, obviously referees are mic'd up when it comes to rugby. Do you think that would make a difference in football? Would there be a kind of a greater respect of referees from the players as much as anything, or is that wishful thinking, Lawrence?
Actually, far be it from me to give credit to what the rugby world are doing, but actually come back to what I said, at least it would then make it clear, you know, I'm booking blue player number 5 because he just told me to go and take one. You know, at least then it would be pretty clear. And I think it would be a good thing.
I'll get back to the football now. I think you had mentioned it, George, in terms of Ronan Hughes and Evan Dunn, both got minutes under their belts. How did they do, obviously, after a spell out injured?
I think they did well. I like both players, and I think Ronan still has. He's yet to show what he can bring to the club, and he's not really had a chance to get going. So hopefully that's what we're going to see in the coming weeks. Evan Dunn, I've spoken about on the podcast. I think he has a lot of the attributes that you'd look for in a defender who could potentially make the step up. He even showed a little bit of the old Lewis Reid bombing forward last night and doing a bit of the old meatball run. So yeah, I think both players have handled the step up to the SPFL, but it remains to be seen what Ronan can bring. And we all know what his background is and his pedigree, and hopefully that's what he'll show.
I like that one, George. Instead of the cannonball run, the meatball run.
The defenders might have a wee competition amongst themselves in terms of who's going to get the most goals between them. But anyway, as I said, Ronan made his comeback last night and heard from him after the game as well.
I'm delighted to be joined by Ronan Hughes. Ronan, you've been out for a long time. How was that tonight to be back in the starting lineup?
No, it was a good feeling. Obviously, been a long 3 months myself, but the medical team here, Kirsten and Nicole and that, they've been stuck by me through some tough times, and it was just kind of good for them as well to see it all paid off and I'm back out there.
Brilliant. I thought James Dolan had wrapped up the goal of the season and you nearly pipped him with that overhead kick. What were you thinking when you attempted it?
I was chasing my first touch, to be fair. It just popped up and I just thought, why not? But and then another day, I don't know, I don't even know where it went. If the guy blocked it or not, I don't even know what happened there.
That's now just 1 defeat in the last 10 games. The atmosphere in the changing room must be buzzing right now.
I know, we're in a good place. Obviously the start of the season wasn't what we wanted and we all know that, and it was really down to us in there to turn it round, and I think we've done that so far the second quarter, but it's going to be tough on Saturday with East Kilbride. They're a good team, but I'm sure we'll put up a good fight.
St Mirren showed their quality in spells this evening. How do you prepare for matches against teams you don't know that well?
All the B teams are good, they're fit, they're young and they play good stuff, which is good, but and physically in that, we always know that we're genuinely 9 out of 10 times going to have the better of them. So that's what we kind of try and implement in the game, is try and get the physical side more and disrupt them playing. But you can see that they work on it day in, day out, their full time. Do you know what I mean? They play some good stuff, but we just try and implement the physical side a bit more.
That's us now qualified to last 32 of the KDM Cup. Is there any teams you want to play or avoid in the next round?
No, that means we get a home tie, doesn't it?
I don't think so, no. I think we're seeded, so we missed the
right.
championship teams.
But we'll just take whoever we got. You never know, hopefully we get the luck of the draw, but we'll just take whoever we get.
With some valuable minutes now under your belt, what targets have you set yourself for the remainder of the season?
Just take it week by week, you know. So obviously we're just coming back after 3 months, but I just need to take it week by week and help the team best I can.
So tonight on Look Blues Talking, we've got a very special guest, WhyCallum. Welcome. I think easiest place to start. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so here I am on a Stranraer podcast. My name's Callum. I'm a dad of one. I'm a primary school teacher, but I also am someone who creates football manager content on the internet. And I've decided to go up north to Scotland for this one. And believe it or not, this might be a huge surprise to you all. I've decided to manage Stranraer. It'd be weird if I hadn't, wouldn't it? It'd be weird if I was managing a different point. Why would I be here? But yeah, so I've decided to manage Stranraer. So I've just literally started, and then George got in contact last week, and here I am. Here I am.
What is your local club, as it were? Give us a kind of indication as to roughly kind of where you are.
So I'm based just on the borders of Wales, just inside in Wales. I'm an Evertonian. I support Everton. However, the last few years, through Football Manager, I've created quite an affiliation towards, bizarrely, Slough Town, a club in the Vanarama South. A club who, similarly to yourselves, I actually did a mystery kit box, and I got a Slough shirt, and I was over the moon because I was like, fantastic office puns. This is going to be really good. And so I managed them on and off for about 2.5 years. And the beauty of that has been building a relationship with the club as well. Now, I'm not a superstar content creator by any stretch of the imagination. But what I've been able to do with Slough is create a couple of charity events. We've had a charity football match where I actually played, and we lost, but we played regardless. And so it's been really, really nice to have that link with the football club, who, frankly, I didn't really acknowledge existing before sort of getting involved around the game of Football Manager. And now, genuinely, I love them. I mean, they're all over my room here. Like it's all Slough. And who knows, in a year's time, this might all be blue. It might all be replaced with Stranraer. So that's a little bit of background on myself, I suppose. But I stream on Twitch, which might be alien to some people in the call. And I also make YouTube videos as well around that. So yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now.
What is it about Football Manager? Before we get to Stranraer, I think I remember seeing something on YouTube, and it was a comedian was saying that he was trying to explain Football Manager to somebody, and the person had said, "Oh, so it's like FIFA, you control the players." And he's like, No. Says it's basically just a lot of kind of admin type stuff, really, and hopefully my team does well. What is it about the game that you feel has made it so universally popular?
Oh, that's a good question. It is a weird one. When you actually try to explain what the game is, it's ultimately like a spreadsheet manager. And you just watch these little poorly graphicked guys run around the pitch, and hopefully they do the right thing. And the majority of the time, they ruin your day, to be completely honest with you. And then you end up creating these prejudices against players who, in real life, I'm sure are lovely blokes, but you hate them because of a video game. And it's all this sort of thing. But yeah, it's so, in essence, you are the manager of the football club. You make all the decisions, probably more decisions than a normal football manager would do. Things like, whether to build new stadiums, all that sort of thing. I'm sure managers don't have that much input in real life, but obviously this is a video game. There's an element of that. And so you pick the team, you make the transfers, you play around with the tactics, you win, you lose, you draw, you cry. It's all good fun. And so ultimately the aim in stories, I personally love a story. I'm a primary school teacher by trade, as I said, and so I love telling stories. I like writing stories, and that is what I try and do with this ultimately fancy looking spreadsheet, I try and create these stories out of certain footballers, out of the team, out of the club. And I like taking certain clubs from the bottom to the top. And that's why Stranraer appealed to me, because just looking at the history of the club, obviously with you being the third oldest club in Scotland, that straight away to me was like fantastic. Like I can build on that. And I saw similarities in essence to Slough, although they are very different stories. But I wanted to tell a new story this time and build new narratives around characters, because that's what your squad is now to me. They're a group of characters, and how weird is that? So we've already been dancing to the Marky Russell song that you've got on your YouTube page, and the Bang Bang Darren Lang. I've created that into a headbanger, so every time he scores I headbang as much as I possibly can. It's all good fun. But like I say, they do genuinely become characters. They're not real to me, and that's the surreal thing about when I was managing Slough. I went down there. I've been down there about 4 or 5 times now. And at one point I went down there and was introduced to the entire matchday squad. Unbeknownst to them, I have sold the entirety of them, but had to then basically lie to their faces about the fact, oh no, you're brilliant. Yeah, I've taken you all the way to the Premier League. When in reality, I just didn't renew their contracts after the first year. So it's it's things like that really break the fourth wall. And they even, at one point, I actually I stood on the touchline for half of a pre-season game, full suited up, shouting at the ref, all that fun stuff. So they fully took to me down at Slough. And I'm frankly, I'll go on record now, I'm over the moon that even this is happening. And this is not me saying, right, brilliant, I'm up to Stranraer next week, give me the manager's job. But, it's awesome that a football club would acknowledge someone who's just ultimately playing a video game. And that's I know I've spoken for an awful long time there, but yeah, that's ultimately how I feel anyway.
It must be said, Spreadsheet Manager sounds like a dreadful computer game. Let's never, ever create that. I think to anyone that's not played the game, it's a very, as you say, it's kind of difficult to define, but I think anyone that has played it probably does have those stories of when they've taken on a random football club and, as you say, developed an affiliation for a club that before that you've never been to, you couldn't have pointed out on a map. It's a kind of strange phenomenon in that respect. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and I think without actually physically playing the game, you probably won't understand it. You do. It's very immersive, and it's you properly, as I said earlier, it can genuinely ruin your day. Like my wife will at points be like, "What is wrong?" I threw it away. 90th minute, I was 1-0 up, and she's like, "What, on Football Manager?" Yes, on Football Manager. Or you come down and says, "I've been sacked." What? Yeah, I've been sacked on Football Manager. And I'm not. And ironically, it will be like, well, that's me in a mood for the rest of the evening. That's me gone. And yeah, it's the most bizarre thing. It really is. And I mean, there's obviously such a plethora of video games out there that people can play. And I just can't stop playing Football Manager. It's a magical game, and there are thousands upon thousands of people who are in the same boat. So yeah, it's a crazy one.
Callum, you're saying it can ruin your day, so it kind of sounds like supporting a team, to be honest.
Pretty much.
You've actually grabbed me already. Opposite to what Cameron's saying, the fact that it's spreadsheets and it's admin and it's planning, I actually think that sounds quite interesting, to be honest. So, but how does it work? Do you literally have a game every Saturday? I'm not saying do you have to wait for the Saturday? Does it just come, a few hours later in the game? And do you end up, with Slough or Stranraer or whoever, you end up with the same fixture list as them? How does that all work?
Yeah, so the first season will be normal to your season now. Yeah. So in effect, the Stranraer season, I'm following it. And for perspective, you can play it at whatever speed you want to play. So,
right.
a game you can actually play a game in full match to watch the entirety of it, and it takes 90 minutes, which at times is for a cup final or something like that, I actually really quite enjoy doing on the stream, because you get properly involved with it and you never know when the goals are coming. But what you tend to do is, I think the best way of describing it is, it's almost like playing match of the day in essence. So you see the main highlights of a game, and you don't necessarily know that the highlight is going to end in a goal or not, which is what makes it exciting. It might be a fantastic save, it might be a red card, but so that's how the games are sort of formulated. But I agree with you. I think the information behind it is what makes it interesting. And so it's about seeing, why is my right winger not scoring, setting up any goals, or scoring any goals, and you go really in depth into those sort of things of, okay, well, my wing back's not supporting him enough, he's not making enough runs forward, or he's being marked out of the game, so actually would it make more sense to play predominantly on the left hand side and free that up, and having a look at all those sort of stats, which is ultimately, like you say, what football is all about. And you can go, I think football, you can go as deep or as not deep as you like, really, and so you can just be a fan who turns up every Saturday, watches the team, fantastic, and off you go, and don't worry about it till next Saturday. Or you can be the sort of fan who creates a podcast about it and speaks about it every week, and it gets really incorporated within the game. So yeah, it's ultimately as much or as little as you want it to be. But I mean, for me, I usually stream for about 2 hours. I've got a young daughter, so I can't stream all hours of the day, and I would say on average, I'll probably get through maybe 5 or 6 games during that period. So you do get through a few. And then in between games, you're doing things like controlling morale. There might be a player who says, oh, okay, I'm not happy that you're not playing me anymore. Can I start playing? Or send me out on loan. You're looking at different targets that you could maybe bring in, especially with Stranraer, where I've discovered you can play trialists. I had no idea about that until that was like, fantastic. I've got all these free loans that I can use for 3 games and then just disregard them. It's fantastic. Absolutely loving that. So things like that, that's what you're doing sort of on a weekly basis, as your manager would. You can go as in depth as doing training. I mean, you're not physically watching them train, but you can tell them what you want training. So if you're not scoring goals, obviously work on chance conversion, that sort of thing. It can be as in depth as you want it to be. Some people will do a stream for 2 hours and not even play a game, because they will be doing so much behind the scenes. It's as I say, as much as you want it to be.
Listen, I have to ask you, you're talking about you're doing this season for real. So what stage have you got to? Are you behind where we are? Can you go ahead?
You can, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in my Slough Town save, I think in the end I was something like 30 or 40 years into the future. So you can really play into the. I mean, I think I was about 60 something when I retired from that one.
Listen, I just want you to go to this Saturday and see what the result is.
Well, the thing is, I'd imagine the result will be much better in real life because I'm not the manager. So I think you'll probably be much better off. But no, I think I am ahead. I think I am ahead now. I don't think by a lot, but I maybe am at sort of like the end of November in game. And I've had a bit of a rough patch at the start, and I think once I've sort of found out what play, because the reality is I knew nothing about the squad, and that's the beauty of taking on teams like this. As much as each of the players have their own attributes, so they'll tell me that Marky Harris is 12 out of 20 for free kicks, and that's like, okay, so I can use him for set pieces and stuff, but ultimately, until you actually see them within the match engine and working within it, you don't know. Marky Russell, has been diabolical for me on the left-hand side. I was so excited about him, and I was like, he's going to be my player, and he was really good in the cup, and I thought, fantastic, he's the one. And then he was just useless. But I've now moved him to attacking midfield, and my word, oh, he's so good there. He's so good in that role, just in the pocket behind the striker. So it's about learning your squad, isn't it? As it is, in the real game, and seeing who works where and who works with other players within the team.
Now, to anyone that's not played the game again, obviously the sensible, the obvious thing would be you're an Evertonian. You manage Everton. They're a team that you love. They're a team you've got a bit of knowledge about. You mentioned in terms of Stranraer's history, but how did it come about that you decided Stranraer were the club for you on this occasion?
So I wanted to manage in Scotland because I'd done England a few times with Slough and a variety of other teams. I thought, and I've never managed in Scotland in the game. And part of the game is learning. I know football, but I don't necessarily know Scottish football. And so even when I can't remember, what's the cup that you play in sort of July, August? What's that called again?
Don't ask us because I was going to say Lawrence can never remember the names of the
name every year. So, yeah.
So, I mean, that threw me. I had the job for about 5 days and I was in a cup. I was like, what's going on here? Like, this is unheard of. I didn't know what was going on. And I was playing all these teams that were in much higher divisions than we were. And I was like, I don't know. Am I supposed to win these? I don't know. And so it was all for me. I wanted a new experience. So I wanted to manage in Stranraer's division. That was what I was aiming, because it's, so that I've got a bit of a story to tell. If I take on Celtic or Rangers, the story's already told. Like there's no need for that. And so I had a look through the division, discovered 2 teams have obviously got their points deductions. So I didn't fancy either of those. So they were immediately, no, that's too much of a challenge. And it was the history. It was the history that got me with Stranraer. I'll be honest with you, being an Evertonian, a blue kit helps as well. I fancied being blue. But I didn't want to go too in depth with it until I took over the club and learned the ins and outs of them. And so it wasn't sort of a conscious decision, but in my opinion, it feels like straight away the right decision. Looking at your, obviously once I'd chosen the club, I'd sort of looked through the YouTube, the content that you make over there, which, by the way, genuinely, I'm not just saying this, is really good. Like that is really impressive, the content you make over on the YouTube. The quality of it is fantastic. The commentary as well, boys, is very, very good. And I think that now it feels like the decision is validated. I've made the right call, because I managed, as I said, I mentioned Slough loads of times. I managed Slough for a long period of time. I then moved from Slough to Eastbourne because I decided to start all over again and start from the bottom to the top and see whether I could catch Slough. And I had absolutely nothing from Eastbourne whatsoever, which is fair enough. Like there's no reason, they don't have to get in contact. But when clubs do get involved, it just makes such a difference. And it's something that I've already been, like, my wife's been like, so how far is it to Stranraer then? And I was like, further than Slough, love, further than Slough. but you never know. I might be coming up for a holiday, a weekend in Slough with my little one. Who knows? The whole Football Manager community already went, could you not have picked someone closer? They've been complaining about Slough for the last 2 years, and now I've gone Stranraer. But it's just, I don't know. The beauty of it is as I say, learning about that club, becoming part of it, and I'm already looking at the shirts online. 60 quid is slightly out of my budget as it stands, but you never know. Maybe for Christmas, maybe Santa will be generous and get me a Stranraer shirt.
Callum, I thought here's a bit of history, a snippet of history for you. 2004, 2005, would you believe we borrowed a player from Everton?
No way.
Yeah, David Moyes, in his first stint there, loaned us a guy called Danny Fox, who went on to play for Celtic at one point and Scotland briefly as well. Forest, I think. Forest, yeah, absolutely. So, Foxy came to us on loan 2004, 2005 and was part of the team that went up into what is now the Championship. So there's an Everton link for you.
That's some fantastic knowledge off the cuff there. That is impressive.
And by the way, the story is that our manager at the time, Neil Watt, is Davy Moyes' mate. So he picked up the phone. We could do with a player. Davy, who can you send?
That's great. That's so cool.
You'd mentioned that the story of Celtic, for example, is kind of already told, that whether it's in Football Manager or whether it's in real life, chances are they're going to go on to win the league this year. Obviously, Celtic, Rangers, etc. have more fans than Stranraer, etc. Does it work kind of in the opposite way, that when you're doing a stream or if it's going on YouTube or whatever, are there more people interested in the smaller clubs? Because I guess they can kind of identify a wee bit, whether you're a Slough fan, an Eastbourne fan, a Stranraer fan. Everybody has that dream of their little club punching well above their weight and moving up the leagues.
Yeah, I think it works both ways. I think people are really happy to see their club represented. However big or small the content creation is, it's lovely to see all clubs being represented, because ultimately Online, I'll be honest with you. If I was in a Manchester United save or a Liverpool save or whatever, obviously I wouldn't do Liverpool, but if I was doing one of them, I would probably get more viewers. I probably would get more viewers because there are naturally more fans. But that's not why I do it. This isn't my job. It's something that I do out of the love of the game, and this is what I love to do. This is what I love to do. I love to create stories out of clubs that maybe haven't had the same success, and then creating that success within the game, creating that narrative, creating that story. And so for me personally, and I'm the one who has to play it, I much prefer that. So if the people want to watch it, brilliant. If they don't, that's fine as well. But I've already had, people come over who are Stranraer fans into either my Twitch streams or my YouTube videos, sort of give me information on players, which has been really, really interesting and useful. And it creates that, as I said before, the character, it adds more to the character. So the baby-faced assassin, James Dolan, I've taken that from the commentary, of course. He is the baby-faced assassin in my game as well. And someone, am I correct in saying, is he a model? Is that yes. True? Yeah. Yep. So things like that are just like, I would never have found that out otherwise, other than fans coming in and sort of telling that to me. And so, immediately I'm like, okay, brilliant. I'm keeping you, you've got your story there already, that's exciting. And, obviously you got Bang Bang, Darren Lang, and, it's all these things come together.
Darren Lang, who's a maths teacher, incidentally.
Is he? No way. See, there we go. This is what I want to know. He's all about the numbers. But it's so interesting when you do that. And so sometimes, like if I'm not playing it on stream, I will go into a team and I'll basically clear house. I'll get rid of all the players and just like, I'm going to make this my team. With this, I'm going to actively not. That's my plan. Like to try and get Stranraer as far as possible with the squad that I have got. Now, the reality is there will be a ceiling. Apologies if any of you are listening as players. There will be a ceiling, and there probably will be a point where I do have to strengthen a little bit. And I've already brought in a few players. As I say, the trialist system is just the best. But so I've already brought in a few to add bolster the squad. I've called my series the Ferry Tales because obviously that was what I was selling it as. You've got the ferry port obviously to Northern Ireland. So initially, if I am to sign players, it'll only be from Scotland or Northern Ireland with the idea of that ferry link. And then every time we get promoted, our ferry link is going to get larger. So we'll be able to go to another country as we go up through the divisions. And my first signing was a player called Mark Ferry, because you just have to, don't you? I mean, it's literally called the Fairy Tales. I didn't even know whether he's very good, but as soon as I saw his name was Ferry, I was like, well, obviously I'm going to sign him. So he's part of the squad. But other than that, it is predominantly the squad that we've got. I mean, is there any other tidbits you can tell me about any of the squads, to sort of add a bit of meat to the bones for the series?
Meatball.
Yeah.
Lewis Reid's nickname is Meatball.
Meatball, excellent. Yeah. I've just given him a new deal as well. I'm liking him. So yeah. He's my vice captain. I promoted him. Is it a BJ Cole who's the vice captain at the moment?
Yeah, Bernard. Mark
Russell. Lewis.
Yeah. So I promoted Lewis because I liked him. He's doing well for me at the moment. So Meatball, excellent, like that.
One of the strange things about running a part-time team at our level and with our geography, Callum, is that we've got one local player. Ryan Edgar is the local player from Stranraer. Right. The rest all come from Ayrshire, Glasgow, those kind of areas. So we run a team bus to the home games for the team.
Wow, blimey. Wow, that's cool. So Edgar's another one to keep an eye on then. Okay, noted.
I appreciate that obviously the game isn't a crystal ball, but how is your save going? How are Stranraer doing?
So we as I say, we started okay, but I think it was more me not being particularly good at the new game more than Stranraer, if I'm being completely honest with you. And then as the season sort of progressed into sort of October, November, we started picking up a few wins. So I think we're 6th at the moment, so sort of just off. But if I'm honest, like as silly as this may sound, I don't necessarily want to get promoted in the first season, which quite often happens in a Football Manager save where you just take over a team, bam, buy a few players, and bam, you go flying up the leagues. I'd like to get to know the squad. I'd like to get to know the team a little bit better. And so, if we could nick in to the top half, that would be great. That would be great in the first season. I'd be really chuffed with that. But yeah, so it's going okay. We've picked up a few decent results. Off the top of my head, I think we beat It's Sterling, isn't it? Sterling Albion. We beat them 4-0 away. That was good fun. We've lost plenty of cup games. The cup is just both cups just terrible, like just not enjoyable at all. I've got no interest in the cups whatsoever. So I've taken on St Mirren and St Mirren B, and St Mirren B were better than St Mirren. That didn't make any sense. No idea what's going on there. So we're doing okay. It's been a decent start to the season. Who knows what will happen? You could say the only way is up, but knowing my management, it's not. We could also do quite poorly, but the points deductions are reassuring me massively.
You mentioned about how immersive the game is, and I think we would all agree that until you play it, you perhaps don't appreciate that. I'm intrigued. You read things, you see things online about people that perhaps become too immersed. Have you found yourself kind of giving imaginary press conferences to yourself? And do you get suited up for cup finals, etc., or as you say, that irrational hatred of players that you've never met?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, it's the only way to do it. I don't know if you can see behind me. It's here. My tie is here, always ready, just in case I get in a cup final. It might be a little while for Stranraer. I was looking on the club site. There's not a Stranraer tie. I was very disappointed. So I might have to create one of those myself. Just stick a picture of Stranraer on the top of it or something.
I'll have a spare committee tie hanging about somewhere. I'm sure I could send you something.
That would be incredible if you could, genuinely, because I will 100% wear it. But things like that. Why not? Why not just get involved? I always say, if you're gonna get involved, you may as well go whole hog. And I going to a non-league game, full suit with a slough tie on. It was during a period where they were going through a buyout, and people were coming up to me, shaking my hand, going, "Oh, it's just such a pleasure to meet you. Such a pleasure." I'm like, I don't think you know who I am. I'm not buying the club, just to be completely clear. But why not? Why not? Like, as I say, if you're going to do it, you got to do it properly. And yeah, absolutely. Imagine, I mean, the thing is, I do these press conferences and stuff, but people watch me. That's the weird thing, Cameron. For some reason, people decide to watch this ugly bug on the internet. And I'm not 100% sure why. But, I try and be entertaining. As I say, it's good, it's bad. But the main thing is, I try and make it a show. I try and make it a show. We try and have a bit of fun with it. And that is ultimately what it's all about. Because as we say, otherwise it would just be watching man in his mid-30s play some spreadsheets, and no one wants to watch that.
You mentioned that yourself. When should we expect you coming through the gates at Stair Park?
I mean, if it's not this season, I'd be very surprised. It's a long old journey up there. So I will have to, I never thought I'd have to be in a situation where I'm having to, get brownie points to come up to Stranraer, but it looks like that might be the case. I have already sort of let a few of the group know who go down to Slough, because we do it most years now. Stranraer, everyone. So are we saving up for Stranraer now? So I can't promise you anything, but let's just see. I will certainly do my utmost to be at Stranraer at some point.
I'm sure you'll be made most welcome on the occasion. Brian, you've been quiet. Anything you want to ask, or are you just taking it all in?
Carmen, I try not to get involved with anything I don't know anything about. So that's how I'm not any questions. It's great to listen to you, Callum. It's really quite interesting, to hear. I mean, I play FIFA with my grandson. I've never won a game, by the way. He always beats me. I'm rubbish at it. But I'm really interested in what you're saying. It sounds good fun, right enough. I've always fancied myself as a manager, right enough. But I really enjoy what you're saying there. It's good stuff, and going away for my favourite team in England, Spurs. So I think we beat you quite comfortably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I was quite happy with that result. I think you're first to beat your new stadium. So I was quite happy.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Brian. Great input there.
The man on, Brian, and then just that.
Oh, gee.
Callum, where can we find you?
So I am WhyCallum. That is my name. It is WhyCallum, all one word. That's YWHY, Callum, CALLUM. Scottish. Mhm. I'm a bit Scottish, a little bit. You can hear it in my accent clearly, can't you? And you can find me on Twitch, on YouTube, pretty much anywhere under WhyCallum. To be honest with you, WhyCallum _ on Twitter. But other than that, it's WhyCallum everywhere. Feel free to come along to anything. Come along to any of the streams, watch the videos. I'd greatly appreciate more of a Stranraer input because tell me I'm doing something wrong. Tell me that I should be playing that player. He's way better. Because I'm at that point with the squad at the moment where I literally looked at your team that you put out and I went, haven't played him at all yet. Yeah. Maybe I should give him a go. I won't say who. I don't want to call myself out. But, it's things like that would be genuinely interesting to hear from you. So, yeah, absolutely. If you're interested at all. But thank you so much for inviting me onto the podcast. It's genuinely been a really fun. I was a bit nervous and it's been a really fun chat. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Callum. Something a little bit different, and hopefully everyone that's tuning in hopefully gets a wee bit of enjoyment out of it. And as I say, anyone that's played Championship Manager or Football Manager, I'm sure they've got those kind of similar stories of when they took Exeter for Division 3, as it would be, up to the Premiership, etc. It's just one of those things that until you play the game, I think you probably think folk are a little bit weird getting so obsessed by it, but as soon as you do it, you totally understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. It's one that, I mean, obviously, I don't think Brian's about to download the game. That's my gut feeling. But you never know. You never know. I believe in you, Brian. You'll get that win against your grandson. I do believe.
I'm still in Subbuteo.
Lawrence, you mentioned this earlier. Obviously, we played Clyde at the weekend. They're third in the table. We now welcome East Kilbride. Following that, we play Spartans. I appreciate we're only in November, but could be a really important couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I said earlier on, this is going to test our team. It's going to test us we all reckon we've improved. Certainly the table and the points garnered shows we've improved. So this will be, I guess you can start from last start. It's a triple test. It's the top three. So the first one was an away game, which we came away from with a point, which I was quite happy with. Arguably, East Kilbride at home, you want to keep your best form for home games. I think Saturday is all the makings that it could be a really exciting game. I don't think they'll necessarily relish coming to the grass of Stair Park. We've seen the style of football they play. And I mean, I know I could be totally wrong here. East Kilbride could come on Saturday and win comfortably. Equally, it could go the other way. I don't think they'll relish it because we know they like to play it out from the back. I suspect George is probably in a better position than anybody to comment on this. I suspect the pitch, with all due respect to the groundsman after the game on Tuesday night, is not going to be in pristine condition on Saturday. So it could almost be a good old-fashioned winter Saturday afternoon under the lights cup tie on Saturday.
How was the pitch looking, George? Obviously, weather wasn't exactly kind yesterday.
Yeah, we've done a perfect number on it, and conditions are appropriately in our favour on Saturday. It was cutting up a bit, as you would imagine, given the amount of rainfall. But I think I spoke to Colin before the game as I was setting up my cameras behind the goals, and he was talking about just what he faces when the weather is as it is, and he'd done his absolute best to ensure there was drainage, and but there's only so much you can account for when it comes to the sheer amount of water that fell on the pitch. I think it's looking okay, and particularly for the time of year when we do get days like this, it's going to happen. We are going to have inclement weather, but it's just how you handle it, and I think it'll be all right for Saturday, but obviously not not like an artificial surface, put it that way.
It must be a challenge though, George, in terms of trying to get a pitch to the best condition it can be when you've got such a quick turnaround after having 22 guys chasing a ball about a pitch for 90 minutes plus the referee, subs, the warm-ups, etc. It must be a challenge to try to get it back to something looking vaguely like a football pitch.
I think so, and Colin deserves a hell of a lot of credit because this year particularly, I think it's looking as good as it ever has. It's the nature of Stair Park is you've got the Burn running alongside, which is always full. You know, it's we don't have our challenges to face in many ways as a football club, but yeah, the pitch is certainly one of them. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I think having a grass surface is the way to go, and hopefully it'll be a tough place for EK to come on Saturday.
Now, Brian, we mentioned that Stranraer had made 6 changes for Tuesday night's game. East Kilbride had a much stronger, more familiar looking 11 out against Celtic B. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I done a bit of spying for Stranraer last night. I watched the game on Premier Sports, and I thought it was quite a good game. Obviously, both teams, possession-wise, just wanted to play football. You know, we know East Kilbride are like. Celtic were really good. And I thought Celtic B were very unlucky, actually. They had a couple of goals chalked off first when I couldn't really see if it was offside. The second goal wasn't offside. It was onside, but the referee or the line got it wrong. But I thought it was a right good game. And we know East Kilbride, I think that could be the team might play Stranraer on Saturday. They were missing Leach, and I think he's out for quite a while. Spence pulled up before the game, and I listened to Mick Kennedy's interview, and he said he tweaked his hamstring, so I don't think he'll play on Saturday. Kennedy says they're looking after him, so I take it he'll be out on Saturday as well. So that's 2 big players for them in the middle of the park, especially. We know they've got plenty of firepower up front. I mean, you've got Elliott, Robertson, Young, Flanagan. I can go on and on, but you know, going back the way, I think it'll be. Is it Mimno? Is that how you pronounce it? He'll probably come in to start alongside Joe Baldy. I think that'll be the 2 in the middle of the park. Foster played last night as well. He's also a regular starter, and I think his defence will be the same. It'll be at Stair Park. So I mean, they had quite a hard game, and I was quite surprised at the lineup because you know you're coming down to Stair Park on Saturday, and it'll be another hard game. And I thought he might give some of his bench. I don't know whether he trusts any of his bench. I don't know, but it was quite a good game. And as I say, possession based. You know, both teams try to play football, and Celtic played out for the back and lost 2 goals. The goalkeeper sold the first one. He just played it to, I think it was John Robertson who couldn't miss, and OCC scored the second. But I thought Celtic B played really well and were probably quite unlucky not to get something out of the game.
So, Tiff, if you're watching this, make sure that you've got your fax machine on so Brian can send through his scouting report from the game last night. Lawrence, obviously, East Kilbride were victorious against Stirling Albion last weekend. What can we expect from East Kilbride, or is it as obvious as what we think it could be? Well, obviously, in terms of teams having a style, East Kilbride probably the one in League Two that have that most kind of definitive style.
Yeah, and I expect to see that on Saturday. It's worked for them this season again, by and large. Yeah, they're not top. 1 or 2 people maybe would have tipped them to be top, but they're still there or thereabouts, and I expect them still to be there or thereabouts, or even top at the end of the season. We'll see how they go on between them and Spartans. I think Spartans seem to have a bit of their number at the moment, so it's probably what they both do against other teams. I think we will see the same style from them, and I think in Stranraer's favour, you've got the pitch. It's a grass pitch. It's probably going to be heavy unless we get exceptional weather for the rest of the week. I would also be inclined to, you look at what people say about them online, I'd be inclined, I know we've got a good strong defence, but I'd be inclined to have a go at them from the start, because it does seem that their defence, and it might be famous last words from me, it does seem that their defence is the bit to attack, which shouldn't be surprising in football terms.
I think Brian kind of hinted at this earlier, Lawrence, but do you anticipate the Stranraer starting 11 will be closer to the team that lined up against Clyde than the team that lined up against St Mirren B?
I suspect it'll be closer to the team that lined up against Clyde. If James Dolan is available, that gives the manager a decision to make. Matty Gillis won't be available. I don't think that the Scotland under-19s will be back in time for that. We don't know about McManus, but I suspect it'll be somewhere round about the team that's been playing in the league the last few weeks, or as close to it as the manager can get. certainly all the players on the bench now are giving him a decision to make. You know, there's Ronan Hughes back in the running again, and he's not the only one. We saw Evan Dunn coming on Saturday. We saw Tommy Sharp coming on Saturday. So he's got decisions to make. But what I will say is back to what we were saying earlier. Start with the 11 you think's best, and you've got plenty of support to come on later in the game.
Now, George, we've played East Kilbride 5 times since the first meeting in December 2016. Would it be fair to say one particular occasion stands out?
Yeah, it was that bounce game in 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I remember it well.
That was a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's one we're probably going to be talking about for years to come, isn't it? And I was thinking about it earlier on, funnily enough, and I think watching it back, it's still, you still get the feeling that you did at the time. Particularly, I think Gal's goal.
Good. Sends it out to Forrest, gives him another chance to get a cross in.
Great
Angles
cross.
it into the box. Falls to Gallagher.
Grant Gallagher! Grant Gallagher! Grant Gallagher! GG has scored! The first for Stranraer! What a goal, GG!
I still get goosebumps watching it and hearing the commentary, seeing a packed Stair Park jumping about, and obviously Craigie's second, Aidan's third, Aidan Gilmartin, his name I can only hear in Lawrence's voice, just the way he said Aidan Gilmartin,
Aidan Gilmartin, what a time to become a hero.
So yeah, just a magical day from from the jaws of disaster, but now we're through the other side of that, and we're looking, very much looking up the way, and hopefully we can start to, maybe not erase the memories of that, but move away from that kind of plug hole, so to speak, and start moving in the right direction, which I think we've started to take the right steps towards in the recent months.
It's a strange one, Lawrence, because I think George had said there in terms of the plug hole and kind of the possibility of relegation, etc. But it's become such a definitive, such an iconic moment in Stranraer's recent history that it's a game that in some ways we should kind of try to erase for the memory and move on from. But it's just something that I think anyone that was at Stair Park on that day, they'll all have their own kind of special, unique memories from that game.
A couple of things strike me. Brian Martin saying, my absolute best football day ever. I think he'll tell me if I'm wrong.
The best day in my football history.
The other one that strikes me is I genuinely think there were a lot of East Kilbride fans after that thought we were just trying to wind them up, and genuinely it was not what we were doing, apart from Brian going on about the Hollies roundabout. That's not what we're trying to do. I don't think if you're a team in the Lowland or the Highland League, I don't think you appreciate what an absolutely massive thing it is about to be relegated. We all know that the teams that have gone down to the Lowland, they haven't come back, and there's no sign of any of them coming back. That is why we were going absolutely bonkers that day, because everyone and their dog expected us to lose that game. EK were the favourites. You look at their squad, some damn good players in that team. They were the favourites. That's why we were going absolutely insane, if you like. The fact that we had against the odds saved ourselves. And I think I said on that day in the commentary that East Kilbride would be back, and they are. They're here now. But from what I would say is from our point of view, to any East Kilbride fan, don't take it that we were having a real old go at you. We were absolutely awestruck with the fact that we'd pulled that one out of the bag and saved ourselves. And as George says, the day itself, and as you said, Cameron, perhaps we should be trying to forget about that day. But no, it's if you like, it's a bit like the season before Sanny McInnesby took us up. On the final day of the season, we beat Stenhousemuir 5-1. And in a funny kind of way, and we didn't go up because Brecon got a late goal. And in a funny kind of way, I remember that in a sense more than I do the following year when we went up, because it's just the emotion. And the emotion, and it's a different emotion. The emotion after the East Kilbride game was sheer relief and enjoyment. The emotion after the Steny game was thought, we're never going to go up. you know. So emotional stuff all round. Now we've got to treat this just as this is a normal run-of-the-mill League Two game for us. There are points up for grabs for both sides. We've got the team that takes the game with the scruff of the neck Saturday and go and win the points.
It's funny you say that, Lawrence. Just when you had mentioned that in terms of run-of-the-mill game, there won't be many survivors from the Stranraer team that played on that day. James Dolan's been away and come back, but beyond that, very, very few.
And
Darren Long.
And Darren, sorry. And that was Ryan's, I think, was it his second appearance for us or third appearance for us?
But he was certainly still very much in the beginnings of his career.
Against Steny, the last game of the season, I think.
And fourth for the week before.
Fourth for the week before. So at the very most, the second leg might have been his fourth, possibly third appearance for us. So there's not many around. James has been away at Real Madrid, came back. It's totally changed. And I think, to be fair, if you look at the East Kilbride lineup, there's been a fair few changes as well in the year and a half.
Well, what about yourself, Brian? Should we be trying to use that moment against East Kilbride as almost a turning point, I guess, a moment of this is how close we came to dropping into the Lowland League? I'm not one of these folks that say that would have been the end of Stranraer Football Club, but it would have meant massive, massive changes.
Yeah, I mean, I keep don't want to repeat myself, but I keep on saying what Sean Niven said, our template is Montrose. They were in the playoff, to get relegated. And after that, they went up and up and they've been there. I know they're struggling this season, but they've been in League One now for 7 or 8 seasons, and we've been up there a couple of times with a good friendly club, and a good support. And that is our template. But, going back to the game on Saturday, Lawrence touched on it. I mean, I think it's got making to an absolute cracker. I really do. Two different styles completely. And I think the Stranraer players will be, I know they're up for every game, but I think there'll be an edge to the Stranraer players' performance with the baggage that comes from the first game of the first game up there at the start of the season. And Tiff said it last night in the post-match. We've got to show East Kilbride, this is Stair Park, and I think they'll be right in East Kilbride's faces. Legally, of course, don't want any rough stuff, but I think they'll be right in East Kilbride's faces from the get-go. And I really do wish there'll be a hope for a big crowd out there on Saturday. They'll have probably maybe 40 or 50 supporters, and if we can get Stranraer, Stair Park rocking on Saturday, I think we've got a great chance. But as long as we can get in their faces, and we know what they're going to be like, they want to play the ball out for the back and play it across the middle. We've really got to be on top of that, and show them, this is Stair Park, this is our ground. And I really do hope we get a really good crowd out on Saturday to cheer the boys on.
I mentioned this earlier, Brian, in terms of people online. Inevitably, the word Stranraer, before that comes a poor Stranraer side. If, and obviously it's a big if, but if we get a result on Saturday, do you think that'll start to turn some heads? Do you think that Stranraer will maybe not be under the radar so much?
Probably not. Probably say it was a heavy park, didn't it? So, I mean, but we know, the supporters know that Stranraer have got a decent team this season. But, if you don't see that team every week, you say, no, it's only Stranraer. But I think most of the supporters know, after that sticky spell at the start, we've got a right decent team this season, and I think we can go right up this league, honestly do. If we keep players fit, I think we've got a right chance.
So time will tell. Get along to Stair Park this weekend and we will find out exactly what happens. But get along, cheer on Stranraer, and hopefully 3 points in the bag.